Hello, in this episode we're going to learn how to make a topiary such as this, which is perfect for an entryway on the outside of your door, or a foyer, or any other corner where you might want some height and just some fall decor. This is very easy to do, and I'm going to show you how you can switch it out so that it's not permanent for that season, and you can use from season to season. So now, one of the first things we're going to start with, we have our container and we have our topiary. Now, I already have this foamed in. For doing on your own at the house, just choose the container that you want that fits your topiary frame. You can use either the floral foam blocks and fill your container with it, or you can use the triple expanding spray foam that you get in the can at any of the big package stores or any craft store. If you're using the triple expanding foam, it can take 1 to 2 cans to fill a container of this size, just depending on the weather conditions as to how much it's going to expand. If you do that, have some moss ready, so once you spray your container and that foam starts expanding, that you can immediately lay the foam or the moss on top of your foam and press down and keep it somewhat corralled into your container and not get foam all over your hands. Now, once you've got your frame stuck down into your foam, then you're ready to start decorating. One of the least expensive for the money things that you have is grapevine. So get you an inexpensive grapevine wreath and unwind it. Now, this gives you great texture. As I said, it's one of the least expensive things that you can get to give you bang for your buck. And locate the end and start at the top, and you're going to tie this off just in random places as you spiral it around. Now, today I'm going to use what's called a barked wire. There's bark literally wrapped around this wire, and I'm going to use it just because it ties in. You can use regular florist wire, you can use a mossed wire such as this, just anything that's going to blend in. In this case, you don't want to use chenille stems because those will show up. So we're just going to cut a length off, just a few inches long, and we're going to start with this end, as I said, and we're going to start up top. And we're just going to tie around the finial. Now, if one breaks, like it just did here, don't worry about that at all, because that's just going to tie right in. Now, I'm going to loop this around, and I'm going to tie that tightly. And I'll leave those ends sticking out there. Okay, and then just start working with your grapevine. At that point, and just start wrapping. Now, this in general is easier to do on the floor, of course, unless you're a giant and can easily reach up. Let's get this going around here. Well, this whole thing is spiraling. Okay, now let's make our first tie right here where this one's broken, and that's going to hold that end down. I'm going to cut off another few inches. All this is doing is starting your spiraling line and again giving you texture. Okay, there's another end. We're going to tie that right in with this one. And then we're going to keep working our spiral around. And as new ends come up, also add those in. Okay, let's pull that on around. Bring this down, and now that I'm down to the bottom, I'm just going to snap this, and then I can lay the rest of that aside. Now, if you want your grapevine thicker, You can go and do another row. It's just literally up to you. The technique is all the same. I'm going to tie off the bottom. And I've got this short end here. I'm going to tie that. And this one other edge that's sticking out, I'm going to pull that in and tie it. Okay, next is mesh. I have a roll of the 10-inch orange mesh going. You can use any color you like. Of course, depending on the season, also depending on your decor. And with that, I'm going to start spiraling it around in a different location from my grapevine, because I want layers. I don't want one over the other, and one thing to be hiding my previous work. So I'm just going to tie that in. And I've left longer tails on this lower tie so that we can attach a bow in a moment. Okay, now then, I'm going to start wrapping. And let's see, we'll keep this first tie fairly low. Just pinch in, gather in, so that you got some nice body going with your ribbon. And secure that. And keep moving up the piece. And let that puff out around your grapevine. And just spiral on up anywhere that you think looks right. We'll do one more about right here. And then we'll move up to the top. Now, once you reach the top, we're going to cut pretty good length here, because pull this through and bring it on up. And we're going to form one loop at the top, just to give you a little more going on and finish off the piece. And then we're going to tie that as well. And that has your mesh layer going. Now you could also use the 21-inch ribbon as opposed to the 10-inch that I've used. It will just give you more fullness. If you want more coverage over your frame, maybe if you've got a plain frame so there's no design work going on, you might want more coverage. Otherwise, I would stick with the 10-inch. Now then, next I'm using a burlap ribbon, which has got varying fall colors woven in with it. And I'm going to do the same thing. First I'm going to trim that flat edge off so that my ribbon comes to a point. And I'm going to use my previous ties and tie that with the mesh. Now, of course, I'm using a narrower ribbon here, and that way, as I bring the burlap along, I've got the orange mesh showing out on each side of it. And so that just gives me that layered look Doesn't hide anything really, but it does work to give me just that one more layer of interest. Just kind of let it loosely wind along and work with the mesh. Keep on looping along. Okay. And then once again, we're going to bring that through, up, make a loop, pinch it in, and tie it off beside the other piece. So now you can see, as I turn the piece, how you've got interest going on all sides. Now, next would be the bow. We have a video showing how to tie a bow, but we'll just kind of review that process. First off, you're going to roll out and you're going to leave a tail the length that you might want hanging down. Remember, the mesh curls some, so you can go a little more if you need to, because it is going to curl up. And you're just going to pinch all of this up in your hands. Do 1/2 twist so that you keep that bow loop going. And we're going to gather that in and grip it and turn our ribbon 1/2 twist. The reason I'm doing the 1/2 twist with this is not because I've just got one good side of my mesh, because it's the same on both sides, but because of the roll of the ribbon itself, the body helps keep my loops fully strong. Now you can stop off at 2 loops, particularly if you're having trouble with this, but normally I would go ahead and do 3, and that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to gather in, and I'm going to cut. Now remember, with mesh, always just cut straight across. Don't do it on an angle, because the mesh ends will ravel out. You want the least amount of edge showing for that. Now then, at this point, I can take one of the ties, tie this off, and go ahead and attach. Or, as you get more and more used to it in building your bows, you can stack in with the next color and continue on. So that's what I'm going to show you here. I'm still gripping this between my index finger and my thumb, and I just work that into that bend of my hand. Do that 1/2 twist, because of course in this case there is a back side of the burlap because of the seamed edges. I'm going to do that 1/2 twist again, gather into my hand where I can hold it, and do my final 3rd loop. Gather in, and then I'm ready to cut. Of course, the burlap I am doing on an angle because I don't care if the ends of that fray. Now, I've got my ties here already from a previous bit, so all I'm going to do is hold this, place it in to the center of those ties, and pull those tight and twist them in. Then I'm ready to just fluff out my bow a bit till I get the result that I want. Now, there is my bow fully attached. Now at this point, I'm going to move around to the front of the table and we'll discuss putting the decor on. Now we're going to work off this and show you how to work your decor. I haven't glued anything in here because of course fall is a short season and I want to reuse my topiary from season to season and switch it out. So what I've done, first off, is I have a fall pick. This one with a pumpkin, so it gives me nice visual weight, and I don't have to add anything else to it or glue anything in at this point. So I've just shaped that out. I've used 2 of them. I tuck one in here, and I tuck one into my foam on this side. And just insert it like so. That way, you know, my pumpkin, everything is showing up. Now, I want a bit more volume going at the base. So I have used these grass bushes, and I just shape those out. Of course, everything is wired on the blooms of the grass itself. So I fan those out because I think about where I'm going to place and how they're going to be. I go ahead and fan all of that out and use again the entire bush, no cutting, and then insert into place wherever I want it to go into the foam. Now, if you're using, well, it doesn't really matter what kind of foam you're using. Sometimes there are hard spots. So one of the easy tricks to use before inserting in is merely to take your heavy scissors and jam the point in. Just give it a quarter twist, and that opens up a space for you to insert your bush into without you having to push and shove and all of that. So I've got one bush here. I've got 2 bushes of grass on this side, and so that's got my base covered. Now, I need a little more interest going up through here, because wherever you've got this tied, that's kind of narrow and uninteresting. So I've mixed pine cones, I've mixed pods. You know, you can get the boxes of the vase filler. You use the different orbs depending on what colors you want going on, what interest you want to go, and then take the rest of it and put it in a bowl or use in some of your other seasonal arrangements. But I've glued those in place, either using your hot glue gun or the glue pan. Now, one trick here is to make sure when you're gluing, only glue to your ribbon and your mesh, not to your frame. That way, you can untwist the wire at the end of the season, roll this up loosely, place it in a box or a bag, and store it away until next year when you're ready to put it back on. You already have these then marking where you tie it back onto your frame mat, so it makes it very simple to do. You can leave the grapevine on from season to season, no problem there, and mix the rest of it in. Then after that, whether you want it lit or not, you can add the battery pack lights, which are the small wire lights that we have. Also very easy to store and in the battery pack. Those, of course, you can just wrap and unwrap. They're very thin wires with just that glue bead on the wire itself forming the bulb, and just spiral that down through the piece. Tuck your battery pack in among the bow, and that gives you easy access to the on and off. And these, of course, last you 2 or 3 weeks of constant burning before you have to switch the bulbs out again. So even if you left it on all the time, you know, a couple of bulb changes is all it would take for your fall season. And there you have it, your completed topiary, all ready to make your entryway or any other area in your home very holiday filled and classy. You can get it all at Trees and Trends.